Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Okay, today's a little different. We are back in the office, and I'm going to show you here what I use and kind of like a quick overview of my workflow for editing some of my photos. To start, I use a software product called Acdsee Ultimate Photo, Ultimate 2022, Ultimate Photo. Acdsee Photo Studio Ultimate 2022. Sorry, can't even get the name right. Good thing they don't sponsor me. So, I'm going to show you my steps I take to get images basically to where I want them, and then depending on what I'm doing with the picture, there's always going to be little differences, but I'm going to just kind of give you the general overview. We'll take one picture here. So if you see up on my screen right now, this is off of my D drive, off my new computer, my nice new XPS that I just got, which is so much faster than my old laptop. So, we're going to take a picture, and I think, as you can see, I don't always just shoot wildlife. There's some moons and stuff here. So let's take this little guy here. Let's have a look at him. So when I'm in this mode, this is the manage mode of ACDC. I can select a picture, and if I want first, I can just view it. And when you view it, it just gives you the picture of the image raw. Now, the only thing that's been done to this picture is it's been run through DxO Pure Raw 2. And that's kind of where I start with most of my pictures. I run it through there. But I'm not going to go over that. This is just about how my workflow in ACDC. So I'm going to take this image, and we're going to go to the Develop tab up here, and we'll select that. Wait for it to load. There we go. Okay, so you can see it changed a little bit there, just because it's dropping, it's doing whatever it does. Yeah, so anyways, we take the picture here into the Develop tab, and this is where I can start working on stuff. You got your histogram over here, and you know all your controls here. Now I know Adobe, I think, is all on this side. You can move these panels around, put them in different areas if you want, get rid of things, whatever you want to do. It's all customizable. I like to start out just with the basics. Let's go exposure and lighten it up just some, right about there. And then go, let's see, I usually skip some of these, and we're kind of back and forth here. Let's bring a little vibrance in. And the reason I don't go and start hitting, like, bringing down highlights or something is because as you do things like with the vibrance, some of these other layers, it'll tend to darken it up just a little bit. And saturation, we can bring a little saturation in. I don't like to use a lot of saturation. I find it's too much. I never go above 8. Or rarely go above 8, but yeah, so we can do it that way as well. We have the clarity slider, which if we go all the way one way, you can see it really softens that. Kind of gives a cool effect, but not what we're looking for. We can clear it up a little bit, or leave it where it is. I think I'll leave it where it is. Now, next will be the white balance. I don't think I need to do anything with the white balance. I'll come back to this tab, by the way, the one up here. I'll come back here in a little bit, but yeah. White balance is fine. I think I'm going to leave it where it is. You can always just add a little warmth, maybe there. You know, something like that. That's how it was. That's how it could be. I think that's okay. One of my favorite tools in ACDC is the Light EQ. And what this allows me to do is you have different areas. You can. This is the advanced setting, and then there's basic, standard, and advanced. And basically all it does is just give you shadows, midtones, and highlights. The advanced setting just kind of gives you more areas to choose from. So I can pull it up, and you can see it's starting to lighten up. And if you're watching where the mouse cursor is, these parts you're trying to kind of avoid getting your line into, because it'll start to do, you know, things like that. So I'm going to just reset that real quick. Oops. Undo. Okay, so we'll take that, and I think just somewhere around there just brings it up just nice a little bit, and then we can come back and we can find some setting here which darkens things up a little bit, and this helps bring in contrast without using the contrast slider. And to me, to my eye, that looks good. I have no idea how this looks on your TV screen because I don't know how crunched or not this got. From there, I generally don't use the color EQ, although it's there if you want it. I like to use color wheels, and the color wheel is a really neat tool where I can take this and spin it around, and you'll see different things highlight, and that's the color range you're in. So as we go, the bird's staying gray because it's a gray jay, or a Canada jay, and they're gray, but as I go around, you see all the different parts of the image lighten up depending on the colors that are in them. And when we get into the blues, you'll see a little bit of that in the gray jay. So I don't think I'm going to mess around with the gray jay colors too much, but maybe we'll come here and let's just do a little bit in there. So what we can do is you can take the saturation slider, we can bring that up a bit. In here I'll push saturation a little more. I find it's a very subtle change. So like, see, like I'm 20 and it was like that and now it's like that. There's barely a change. I don't even know if you can see it on the screen. Brightness, we can bring up some brightness as well, or bring down the brightness. Just depends on where we want to go with it. Sometimes I get stuck. I'm like, oh, it looks good when I brighten up here, but then I'll take it down. Like, oh, that kind of looks nice too, and you know, you don't really know which way you want to go. And then contrast as well is something else that sometimes I fight with. I don't like to go too contrasty, but you know. So last after I do that, that's kind of how I want to have that set. I've changed the saturation, the brightness, and the contrast. There's a hue. I'm not going to change the hue. The hue just changes so it looks like, you know, that, which we don't want to do. The last tab is the smoothness slider, and all that does is it just kind of changes how it blends into the rest of the picture, and you can change that around a little bit if you think you need to. I've brought up a little bit. I probably don't need to though. So that is that. That is a quick and dirty, just kind of how I start out. I'll come back up here. Maybe we'll bring down a little bit of highlights. Now that I've set all that other stuff, I kind of got that where I want it. So we're gonna bring down highlights a little bit, and perhaps, no, we won't do that. We can take the contrast slider and maybe just add a little bit of contrast with the contrast slider, and I think that's good right there. So that's it for the develop side. I'm actually happy with how this picture looks like this. I'd be happy to just carry on and do this picture the way it is, but that's not the point here. So we'll go back to manage, and now let's save that over here, and that's going to stay as a developed image. I'll actually save this image separately, so I'll have the raw image, the original right off the camera. I'll have this DNG file that got made by DxO with the develops, and I can tell it's developed because it has this little icon here. And I'll save this in a separate folder, so I always have a copy of it. And then and we'll take it to edit though. Slowly. Okay, so now we're in edit. There's nothing on this I think that needs to be cleaned up, so I don't need to use any of the smart erase tools or anything like that. I think it's okay the way it is. I don't think there's a lot I'm going to do to this, but we're going to duplicate the layer, and then generally what I'll grab first is I'll grab a blur layer, an exposure layer, a sharpen layer, and a light EQ layer. And I'll set the light EQ layer to dodge, and you'll see why later. Now I'm going to set that light EQ layer by right clicking on it and selecting set mask to black. The sharpen layer I'm going to also set mask to black. And then we'll go down to the blur layer, and we'll start there, and we're going to turn the blur all the way off. Sometimes in the develop mode where I was before is I'll actually go into details, and then I'll do a global sharpening on it and some other stuff in there. I didn't do that this time. I don't feel the picture needed. I guess maybe I should have, just to show you guys, but that's sometimes a step I use in the odd occasion. So with the blur layer, what we're going to do is we're just going to take the blur up ever so the blur, as you can see, blurs the picture right out. You can select different types of blurs. You can select the screen, which brightens it up, multiplies, darkens it down, whichever you like. I think in this situation, I will leave it as multiply, I think, and just bring that down. Let's just see it as a screen. Do we want it lighter? Let's leave it like that. And then we have our brush tool selected up here. We're going to change to feathering a bit. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to actually go over the gray jay. I'm going to actually remove the blur layer from the gray jay because I don't want him or her with that blur. I don't want her to be soft. And there's a little feathering on there just so it kind of blends in a little bit. So that, let's do the beak. Yeah. So that takes the blur off of the gray jay. Not that you see a lot of blur in it, but if I turn this on and off, you just see how the effect changes a little bit. But I like to keep the gray jay as is. And then we'll go to the exposure layer, and there's these little bubbles here, so that's just, that controls the feathering on the blur. Up here we have the exposure, and it opens up the exposure to lighten and darken and contrast. So we can lighten this up, even though we darkened it. We could, I think actually going to bring it down a little bit. And then contrast. I'm not going to do the contrast yet. So we brought the exposure down again just a little bit. And usually I have a histogram here, but I don't have it turned on. And then what I'll do is we'll go back to the bird, and we're going to turn that down to about 40% to start. And I'm going to, again, just wipe it off the bird. So what I'm doing is just separating the bird from the background. That didn't separate it too much. So what we can do is we can go up a little higher, maybe 80%, and we'll take a little more off of the bird. Now you can zoom in on this. It makes it a lot easier if you zoom in. You can get in here and get a little tighter. I'm just doing this quick for you guys to see. But something like that. And you'll see over here on your layer tab, whatever you've painted on is going to turn to black. Black is off, white is on. So all around this, the effect of the exposure layer and the blur layer is taking place, but right where the black is, it is not. And they don't look quite identical, but it's probably because I just haven't quite got every spot. So just like that. So that's all we're going to do there. Now we're going to go to the sharpen layer. And what I'm going to do with the sharpen layer is we'll go 1 to 1, just so you can get a better idea. And the sharpen is opacity. This is the opacity control for each of these different layers. So when you're selected to it, opacity of this right now is 100. And we're going to just take that and we're going to right click on the eye. And now you can see that the eye's changed. It's a little sharper. We don't need it quite that sharp. So we'll just bring it back. All the way down is what I do is I bring it down and then I just slowly add it back in till I kind of see where I like it. And somewhere probably around the 60 to 70 range I think is okay. And we can just turn it off, back on. And it's not bad. You have to remember this is also going to be smaller, so if you see it there, it looks okay. Then we have the light EQ, and this is what I use the light EQ for on this particular picture. When I'm just doing something basic like this is pretty much the only thing I use the light EQ for. We'll go that 1 to 1 again. We're going to circle the eye, something like that. And we'll just bang that on there. And now the eye is clearly too bright. So we'll turn that right down. And then we'll just bring it in a little bit. So it kind of seems okay. Maybe somewhere around there. Let's go back out. Maybe that's too bright. Yeah, maybe that looks a little bit too out there. So, I don't know, something like that. Maybe the sharpening needs to come down a little bit. And we'll bring that brightness down a little bit. That guy's eye is pretty crazy, so he's got a lot of reflection in from the sky. It was winter time, it was overcast, and he's got a lot of light bouncing back off. So there, that's how we get it to. We leave it like that, and that's it. This is pretty much where I would leave it. I don't think there's too much more I would do with it. If I was printing, maybe I'd do a little something different. You know, I might go in and tweak a few things. Just for quick social media on Instagram, this is where I would leave it. So yeah, that's about it. After you're done that, what I like to do is, I have a lot of copies of pictures. So like I said at the beginning, I have a raw version of this, which is straight out of the camera. I take a copy of that and I put it into a file on my D drive, which is my work file. And those are the images I work on. After they've gone through DxO, if they've gone through DxO, they go to there as well. And once I do the develop section of this and do all the tweaks in the develop mode, that stays there, but I'll move it over to another file and save it in another location on an external hard drive to have that copy. So I have a raw file, and then I have a raw developed file. Then when we come in here, we do all our edits and layers, and ACDC has a file called ACDC file format. And what I'll do is I'll go and I'll open up my external hard drive, go in there, we see ACDC. We're going to put this in June for now, even though it's July, but that's okay. And we'll save it here. And we'll save this as a Gray J. YouTube edit. Just for now. So that's that. And then when we save that, it'll save all those files. So what that does is, if I want to come back and I do want to print this file, so I can come back to that and I go in, I can tweak things as how I want it to be for printing it. I can all those layers will be there. I can take them away, add more, whatever, it doesn't matter. But that's what I do with that. And then once I've saved that, then I can go layers. Over here is the layers, and I can come down to flatten image, and now that's flattened all the layers into one. And then if I wanted to, I can add I can crop it if I want to. I don't think I need to on this one, but you know, we do a crop. Not quite that. Let's not do that. Let's go 2x3. So there's that. And you know, we can just take it here and maybe make it more something like, maybe take about 10% off or something, right? Let's have a view of that. Yeah, it looks alright. I think that's fine. So we can crop it, something like that. Call that done. And then maybe what I might do is add a vignette. Not like that, but it's a little aggressive. Where's the outline? There we go. So maybe something a little more like that. What does that look like if I go show previous? So I don't know, is that too dark? Would that be too much for you guys? I don't know, actually, I kind of like it. You know, I might actually leave that. So I'll leave that like that. And then, like, if I'm going to post this to Flickr or something, I can put a watermark on it, and you just go over here, grab your watermark. None of mine are in here, so that's right. I haven't completely finished. Let's do the ACDC watermark. I haven't completely moved everything over, so my watermark files aren't set up yet and stuff. But yeah, that's it. That's where we go. And I think that's it. So if there's anything you guys want to know, leave a comment below. It was kind of quick and dirty. Again, I use ACDC. I found them a really great software to use for editing. They have video editing stuff as well, which is a little more basic. But that's what I've been using to edit all my videos up till now. I might start playing around with some DaVinci Resolve, but we'll see. I'm not a videographer, I'm a photographer. Or a hobbyist photographer anyways. So, that'll be it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And if you're not already, maybe subscribe. If you want more content like this to go through workflows, let me know. If you want to see videos on specific parts, let me know and I can put something together for you. It'd be way too long to go over everything. Be a very long video. So yeah, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.